Good morning, everyone. Leanne Scott here from the Profitable Podcast by Chip. And with me today, I have Darren Gibb. Now, Darren is super exciting to chat to because he's got all things AI, content, and LinkedIn, my favorite things in the whole wide world. But before we get started, Darren, please tell us a little bit more about who you are, what you do, and how you got here. Because if I remember correctly, you have quite the interesting story to share.
Oh, first of all, thank you so much for having me here, Leanne. Good morning to everybody who's watching or listening. So yeah, my name's Darren Gibb. I'm a teacher by trade. So I'm a trained qualified teacher. I don't like saying that I was because I very much feel that what I do nowadays is still teaching. It's certainly not coaching. I'm not going to call myself a coach. I'm a teacher. The teacher being the combination of the wise one, of the therapist, of everything else in between. And I feel that's still very much what I offer my clients. So I came from the world of teaching. English literature was my subject, and I made the transition about 5 years ago into what I'm doing now. So I teach LinkedIn strategy, storytelling, and more recently, AI to my clients. I help them to really create their LinkedIn content, their LinkedIn profile to both attract and repel potential clients. And that's the part that I feel most people miss out on. They try to attract everybody in the end, engage nobody. There are potential prospects and ideal clients. So I do this through a mixture of different strategies in LinkedIn, social selling, marketing, and as I said, storytelling, one of my favorite things. So yeah, it's really that connection from storytelling, which came from the English literature part of me. My undergraduate is English literature as well. Surprise, surprise. I'm really bringing that into the 21st century for digital storytelling, which leads into marketing, because life, sales, marketing, there's one thread that combines the three, and it's storytelling. So it's really, that's what I do in a nutshell.
Amazing. Amazing. In a nutshell. I love that you differentiated between a teacher and a coach, because I think I find that very much myself, is that as a marketing, I always say marketing guru, marketing expert, marketing person, what I do is therapy and coaching and teaching. So it is that kind of all-encompassing, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And I think that there's like teachers, there's amazing coaches and there's terrible coaches. But I think that the idea of coach, the principles behind it, I do feel I teach. I'm not coaching somebody through something. I teach them, I nurture them, I help them, I grow them, I develop them. And that's very much, that's my background. That was my training. It's what I've been doing for 12, 13 years now. So as I say, that's why I still feel that I'm a teacher. It's not a fashionable word to use in LinkedIn because there's a misperception about teaching being English, maths, science. But in reality, it's what I do.
Yeah. You know what? I think a lot of people are looking for a LinkedIn coach or a life coach or this coach, but what they're really looking for is a teacher to teach them the way. And so we shouldn't be scared of that word.
Totally. And I think as well that, and this might sound very pretentious, and I apologize to coaches or to anybody else who I might potentially offend. Oh, fuck, I hope I don't hear. But I think that, yeah, I think that where coaching can be very difficult, especially if it's coaching something like LinkedIn. I think life coaching or other types of coaching are that bit different. But coaching isn't teaching and teaching isn't coaching. So I think there is a need, certainly the people that I work with, I need to teach them about the algorithm, about how it works. I need to teach them how to do copywriting in a way that's going to be appealing and get read on LinkedIn. I need to teach them how to be having a successful DM strategy that doesn't get blanked or ghosted and actually takes them onto a call. I need to teach them how to be on that sales call. I kind of also missed out there, but I do have about 10 years, 7 to 10 years of sales experience as well. So when I was studying, I spent some time in New Zealand, went traveling, got absolutely bottom dollar broke when I was about 18, 19 years old. No money, living in a youth hostel, no money whatsoever. Saw an advert saying salespeople wanted. And I thought, I'm a salesperson. Not a bloody clue, obvious. Going around knocking door to door, selling between Red Cross, the Red Cross charities, Telefonica New Zealand, Vodafone, you name it, I've sold it. And it was there that I really fell in love with sales. I never got trained, Leanne, as I think so often we don't get trained in the 21st century, especially. We don't receive so much formal training. And I didn't for sales, but I think I naturally, implicitly understood perhaps psychology, relationship building, communication, same thing which stood me in really good stead when it came to teaching. Yeah, I've got that sales experience as well. So it is, as you said, it's a very strange path as to how I've got to here today. You didn't even mention the 3 years in Instagram, 13,000 followers, and didn't make a bloody penny. Didn't even mention that. So it's really, I feel where I am today, it's accumulation of all these sorts of things together. And I think that's what, in the digital economy especially, I think that's what we should be doing, really leaning into what we do well, developing those skills, learning new skills. It's what Gen Z are going to have to do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I read a really interesting, busy reading 10x is easier than 2x. And there was a piece that really stood out for me this morning. And it's not about the 10,000 hours to master something, it's the 10,000 iterations. So I think you and I both within our 10,000 iterations, maybe it's a little way to go before we get to 10,000.
Yep. And fucking up so often along the way that it makes you want to quit is key as well. Sticking at it.
Absolutely. So something you said that really stood out for me that I think a lot of people may also have hooked onto is the difference between attracting and repelling your ideal client on LinkedIn. So when I talk to my clients and we're looking at their content production, and I'm like, just put it out there. And when we interview people, I really try and push some buttons. Some people take the bait, others takes a little bit more time, but it's because they're too scared of offending. But sometimes it's in being quite not opulent, what's the word? It's taking a stand for something, and it's being able to be divisive in the way you put it, polarizing 100%. So and they're scared of that because they're scared of pushing people away, and we're so scared that nobody will come. So tell me a little bit about your attract and repel on LinkedIn strategies.
Yes, attract and repel is quite simple. It's on the very basic level. If you're a homophobic, sexist, racist, misogynist, fuck off. I'm not going to work with you. I don't want to work with you. You and I, one-on-one, are not going to get along. It's as simple as that. If we can put these things to the side, maybe we might, but on the very basic level, that's that attract and repel. So I always feel that this idea that people buy people is it's not quite right. People do buy people, but that's too general. I prefer to think of it as people buy people like them. And lots of people, if you're listening, have a think about the people you're working with or have worked with in the past. Quite often they'll share similar values, similar morals, perhaps similar ideals. It doesn't mean that you're the same, but it means that you're similar. So I believe that on LinkedIn, we've just hit 1 billion active users, we've seen that this is the biggest growth in creators that we've ever seen on LinkedIn over the last 12 months. So there's more competition out there. For me, and what I tell my clients is that's great because it means there's more bullshit posts out there that say exactly the same thing as everybody else, that use exactly the same hooks as everybody else, that talk about exactly the same issues, burnout, imposter syndrome, etc., as everybody else. It really gives us an opportunity to differentiate ourselves from the rest of the pack. We repel not by being offensive, obviously, not by obviously being racist, sexist, or anything like this. We repel quite simply by sharing the way that we view the world. Remember, if somebody's going to work with you, what makes them different from, what makes Leanne Scott different from AN other podcast producer or AN other media producer, content producer? What is it that makes Leanne unique? And that's what so many people often miss when they're creating content online. They play it safe, they sit on the fence. And all that ends up doing is you end up like a chameleon blending in around your surroundings of bullshit. I far rather suggest that we actually actively throw rocks. We're not throwing bricks, we're throwing rocks. I like to throw rocks at these stupid templates, steal my hooks, steal my strategy for hooks, and all this nonsense because we see it so many times. So throw rocks at it. I'm a teacher. I'm not a paint by numbers educator. I'm a teacher. I'll teach you the skills to write hooks rather than having to rely on some crappy 15 best hooks to use. Now, in reality, Leanne, what does this do? It attracts people who are skills focused, orientated, and want to learn. And it repels people who are lazy and just want to fill in the blanks. Perfect. I love it. Why? Because if you're wanting to fill in the blanks, my brother, my sister, you and I will not be a good fit to work together. I always say to my clients when I'm about to onboard them, when you need that arm around you, I'll give you the tightest squeeze and make sure you're okay. But when you need that foot up your ass, I'll be the first one to kick it as well. And it works that way. So I don't work with lazy people. If people want to be lazy, I'm not the person to work for them. Right now, people are listening to this thinking, fuck, I like this guy. I could work with him. And there's 50% who are going, nope, this guy is way too tough. So it's one of those. And it should be the same in our content. Attract and repel. We attract those who share our values, who share our way of seeing the world. We're doing something unique. We're showing why we think differently. We're repelling those who don't want it, who want the quick way out, who want the quick fix. I don't offer quick fixes. That's why I don't say, I'll turn your content into 20K in 30 days. I'll 10X your results. There's another thing I hate, 10X. What the hell does that mean? In reality, what does 10X mean? What does it look like? Show me what it looks like. Because if you promise to 10X my results and you 8X them, I'm going to be pissed off. So what does 10X look like? 10X your productivity. It's not measurable. How can I 10X this? So it's these little things that I'm just talking about off the top of my head. They're those pet hates. So I always say to people, what is it that's common in your industry that you just think, oh, for God's sake, not again? What is it that makes you think that? And that's what to be throwing rocks at, because the reason you think that is because you have a different belief system or idea that outperforms that other idea. So that's what I mean by attract and repel. I think.
In a nutshell.
In a nutshell, I'm quite passionate about attract and repel. But we should, right? 1 billion users, man. So many content creators, and they're all saying the same freaking things. You've got to attract and repel. It's that simple.
Yeah. So following on from that, I have so many follow-on questions from and comments on that, but we'll start with this one. So one of the things that I find my clients always come up with is, don't post too often. They don't want to post every day, maybe twice a week. I'm like, if you're going to post twice a week, you really don't bother. So you have had some really good results, and you've seen some strategy around being consistent and frequent on LinkedIn. Tell me a bit about your experience or the results that you've seen from being more consistent and maybe more frequent in your posting strategy.
Let's take it back a step, if you don't mind, my sister. Why do people only want to post twice a week? Give me the reason.
They are scared that they'll irritate their people. And
why?
And they'll be seen as posting too often.
Why?
Exactly. Why?
Why? Why? Why is up? Why is up? If it's down to time because you're a single parent juggling 2 jobs and this is a side hustle, I fully support you. I understand that. If it's down to being scared about bothering people, look, do you get bothered by seeing the same freaking advert on TV every day? Does it bother you? Probably not, unless you dislike the advert. Does it push you to take action? Of course it does. You need to be in front of people's minds. So to do that, you need to be consistent. You need to be posting regularly. Now, if that doesn't help you out, here's another one. If you've got creator mode turned on, which you should if you're posting on LinkedIn, if you're only posting twice a week, the algorithm's punishing you for it. So that's going complete to waste. So you've got to be posting 3 to 4 times a week, I like to say, 5 if you can. Perfect. Weekends, I never post weekends. That's my time, motherfucker. I'm not posting weekends. Absolutely not. Sometimes I might. Sometimes I break my own rule. But I always say, clients, weekends are your time. If you want to post, brilliant. It's the idea there's a different audience in LinkedIn at the weekends is complete nonsense. It's the same people. It's the same people that are hooked on LinkedIn that are checking it when they're at football practice or whatever it is, right? So it's the same people. You have less creators posting, though, at the weekend, which means you have a greater chance of being seen. That's a reason to post. Anyway, 3 to 4 times a week, 5 maximum.
I'm going to interrupt you just there a moment. So
Please
I
do.
have found that actually I have better engagement on the weekends because they're at football practice. And I actually find that I have meaningful conversations that lead to sales when I'm active on the weekends. So I try and spend an hour just connecting, but I do advocate for posting on weekends, but you can schedule. You don't have to do it.
I like it. Absolutely. And again, each into their own. There's less people posting, so there's less competition, more chance people will see your content, and less people to engage with. So yeah, 100%, absolutely. It's this old adage in sales: nobody buys on a Friday afternoon, so I'm not going to call. When I was a salesman, I'd be on that bloody phone hitting it hard. Why? Because I knew no other salesperson was, so I was able to get through and to have those conversations. So yes, weekend, if that's your vibe, absolutely go for it. I would not go against that whatsoever. The idea that you don't want to be bothering people too much, the LinkedIn algorithm, the reach, meaning the amount of people who your post gets pushed to, is so poor at the moment. The chances of them seeing both posts are unlikely. And guess what? If they do, it's because they've engaged in one way or other on the content, either through a comment, or they've had a conversation with you in the DMs. Here, sneak cheat, by the way, 50% of your time on LinkedIn plus should be in the DMs nowadays. No excuse whatsoever. The comments are so highly rated, it's unbelievable. Comments are great for connections. DMs are where the true business takes place. Anyway, so yes, the consistency you've got to be, and you've got to be consistently good as well. You can't post out. You can't post 2 high quality posts and 3 pieces of crap. You've got to be posting consistently, and it's your brand that you're putting out there. So I think that it's got to be good quality posts. That's not to say all of my content is equally as excellent as our next post. No, I still have it through the algorithm gods, through people, through whatever it is, where I'll spend 40 minutes crafting the perfect post that I know is going to do really well. And sometimes it'll just flop. Algorithm, who knows? Then I'll have the post that I wrote right on the fly, 5 minutes, and it'll go highly engaged. We all have this. It's something that we need to get over. You need to be consistent, and that just means being consistent with the quality and being consistent with yourself. If a post flops, analyze it. Why did this not hit the mark? And if you can't work it out, it's probably the algorithm. So therefore, just you move on, dust yourself off, and get on with it and post again the next day. So yes, consistency is key. If you're only posting twice a week on LinkedIn, please don't cry that you're not getting inbound leads. Please don't cry that you're not getting people connecting with you. Please don't cry people don't see you as a thought leader. Of course they don't, because they're seeing you once a week, twice if you're really lucky, or more often than not, 0 times a week, because you're not posting enough to allow it to catch fire within the algo.
Yeah. I love it. Be consistent. So what we've seen is that
and this idea, sorry Leanne, one last thing as well. If you're posting genuinely valuable content, why the hell wouldn't you want people to be quote unquote bothered by it? If they enjoy your content, are they not looking forward to what you're about to post next? Of course they are. If they get value from what you post, they're not almost looking for it. Are you not arguably actually letting down your audience by not posting more? My friends, listen, if you're bothering people, there's a beautiful button called unfollow, and they will unfollow you. All right, guess what? They were never going to be a client anyway. Get over it. It's fine. That bit of content that you posted, that you lose 1 follower, you could gain 10, 50, 100 new followers. So just go for it. Be consistent.
Percent correct. Listen to what Darren says. He knows what he's talking about, and it is so true, because growth is not linear. So for me, what I see is that the more often you post, the more you'll hit the mark on some posts. And yes, it's a zigzag. It'll be up and down and up and down, but over time you'll see that it's naturally enough. So it's very interesting to hear your story. So let's talk.
People also need to, sorry, Leanne, I knew we were going to be chatting so much. People need to also stop asking the fucking question, how do I go viral? Virality is overrated. You don't need to go viral. Don't worry about
Don't
it.
need to go viral. No.
Number one, the CMO or CFO of LinkedIn in an interview about 6 months ago said, when we at LinkedIn see a post go viral, we have reason for concern. They actively do not want posts to go viral, number one. So the chances of you going viral are super slim. Number two, if you go viral, that's great. Here's a hack. You want to go viral? Here's how you go viral, people. Tell a story that's super vulnerable, that's super emotional, that you wanted to kill yourself because it was so bad. And this is what you did to survive. And post a really cute picture of your pet dog as well, looking sad. All right. That will go viral. That'll do really well every single time. Right. But here's the thing. Because you've been general, virality works because you've been general rather than specific. When we're general, we attract everybody. It's not attract and repel. It's the antithesis of attract and repel. When we attract everybody, the algorithm starts to get really confused. Who's the niche I have to send this out to? I'm anthropomorphizing an algorithm here. I understand, Leanne, but you get the idea. Who am I sending this out to? Which niche group? Because they're connected to everyone. And so it's stop looking to go viral. Virality kills your growth. That's a strange concept, but it kills your growth because it fills your followers lists with the wrong people who are completely out your niche, who do not have the problem that you solve. And guess what? The algorithm is now pushing the next post. It's pushing your specific content to people who are not in your niche, don't have that problem, and think, who the hell was that again? Because people click a button that says follow and that's it, and they don't think twice about it. So don't look to go viral. Virality is overrated and actually can harm your growth. Sorry, Leanne. I don't know what's happened to me. I am very passionate.
My question in there before you get another one. So when it comes to posting, and I know that you have a super, super secret AI content generation bot. Now, we use a lot of AI in our content generation, but the way we use it is to make sure that we just tidy up what the customer says rather than write for them, because that just results in really bland, boring, nonsensical posts. However, side note, some people don't like the way they sound, and only when the AI bots talk back to them and tell them what they said do they realize how bland they actually sound. But tell me a little bit more about how you use your content generation bot that you've built to create content online that is still engaging, still interesting, and still authentic.
Yeah, so it came from a place, really, Leanne, from seeing my clients. Now, I would never claim to be a gifted writer, for goodness sake, but I enjoy writing at least, right? I enjoy copy. I enjoy writing. I always have. So for me, copy was never a problem. Writing was never a problem. Ideas were never a problem. For a lot of my clients, it seemed that ideas weren't a problem, but the copy, the writing, and so on was. I also think back to when I was a high school teacher. I taught so many kids with dyslexia, for example, and just know that they would spend so much longer taking time getting their brilliant ideas onto paper or through a keyboard. And so it was really this that got me thinking, how can AI help this and what are the problems? The problem was, as you say, the generic, boring, terrible sounding content that comes out of ChatGPT. Supercharge your results. Rocket emoji. Do you know what I mean? It's awful. We can see ChatGPT generated content a mile off. Everybody now is a private investigator for ChatGPT content, and it's proliferated LinkedIn as well. Let's also be honest about that. All of a sudden, people's writing styles completely changing. And this has a problem when it comes to trust. In the age of AI, in the age of ChatGPT, there's a genuine lack of trust on LinkedIn. Has this person written this, or is this a bot writing this? Is this a person's original ideas, or is this a bot? So what I went about to do was to create a content generation bot that, using all my copywriting knowledge and knowledge of social selling in LinkedIn, to create different types of posts. So a mic drop post, what I like to call a reframe post, storytelling posts, engagement posts, all these different types of posts that I teach my clients to be using, to be getting good engagement from their audience and to be pushing the right buttons to be getting people onto calls. But again, the problem being that I didn't want it to sound like ChatGPT had written it. So what I do is I take lots of samples of my clients' writing, and I train the bot on its writing. So it's on their writing. So it's able to mimic the style, it's able to mimic the sentence structures, the forms, the nuances, the vocabularies, word choices, the syntax, everything that they would normally use. I teach it how to be writing just like them. On top of that, there's then the framework for writing these types of LinkedIn posts that do well as well. And that's been the genesis of the content creation bot. So it's literally a bot, and it prompts you for these questions. So essentially you're writing 3 or 4 sentences, and it's doing the hard work and the lifting. It still needs your ideas, Leanne. Without your ideas, it's not going to fly in any way whatsoever. It's going to promote generic kind of ideas and things like this, but it's really leveraging your genius to be able to then create content from that. It's doing the hard work with regards to the formatting, the copywriting, the structure of it, but it sounds and feels like you, but with your ideas within it. So as I say, it's 3 or 4 prompts that it asks you, you put in the information and it generates that. I've also extended it so it now builds newsletters, it now builds blog posts, and yeah, the greatest reward for me are when clients tell me that it's sounds exactly like them, and it's saving them 80% of the time that they would be spending creating content. And that's the justification for me. It's not a replacement of the individual, but we're using AI to save us time whilst retaining our ideas. So my clients have now got more time to spend in the DMs, building their networks, generating different types of content that they, such as podcasts or videos and things like this. There's also a video script generator as well, and there's lots of different things. But yeah, that's the content generation bot.
Amazing, amazing. So we do something similar in that we use clients' video. So when we do the video interview, we interview them, we ask them questions, and then we take that transcript and we clip it up, and then we create the posts from that. So it is always their ideas, their thoughts, and their way of speaking. Brilliant. So that it doesn't just sound like ChatGPT, because you definitely can spot it a mile away. So that's super interesting. Now, part of what we do at Chip is we have introduced podcast production, and I like podcasts because it's a really great way to build someone's profile, but it's also a great way of capturing content and helping showcase you alongside other experts in your industry, but also to get you those conversations that you might never have had if you had wanted to just do a straight out sales call to that person. What's been your experience with podcasts?
I love them. I absolutely love them. If we're going to talk about leads, there seems to always be leads that come in. And again, this kind of comes down to my marketing philosophy. So typically people need about 6 to 7 hours exposure of your content in whatever way we're going to label content to have that trust, that likability factor, and that trust with you. So if you think about it that way, if it takes you 2 minutes to read a LinkedIn post, it's a hell of a lot of LinkedIn posts to be doing. So yeah, I teach things like challenges. One client that went through a challenge pulled in $50,000 through a free challenge. This is what is key, because you're getting to spend time in front of people, and podcasts do exactly the same way. As I said, it's that attract and repel. Podcasts in many ways are the ultimate attract and repel. You can see the person, you can feel the person, you can feel what they're like, you get a sense of what it would be like to work with them. And that's why I think podcasts are incredible. And you're absolutely right when it comes to repurposing them for content. It's phenomenal because you're caught in the moment, right? It's so often, and it's the same for I always say it's the same for coaching calls as well. I tell my clients, record your coaching calls, because they often get very nervous when it comes to sitting and making a video by themselves. But so often our zone of genius comes when we're in the flow, in the moment. We don't give a shit how we look or if that hair is out of place. There's a lot of hairs out of place here, let's be honest, Leanne. And it's that natural enthusiasm. And I think podcasts do exactly the same. So people, from a personal perspective, if you're asking me, people should be getting on podcasts, hosting their own podcasts. I like doing LinkedIn Lives for the same reason. It's spontaneous, it's there, I can interact with an audience, and I can repurpose it for content. The amount of content that comes out of a podcast is phenomenal. People have writer's block. They don't need to when they're just speaking freely on a podcast.
That's exactly why the CHIP system was born, was that if we're having this conversation, I can tell you and talk about podcasts, I talk about LinkedIn and AI and until the cows come home. But when I have to sit with a script for 60 seconds, and it will always sound scripted, always.
Yep.
And the other side that we've seen where we're getting really good results is that as people are scrolling through LinkedIn, they don't necessarily listen to all of the videos that you post, but they read them. Now, what we do know is that communication is only 7% words. So that other 93%, you're communicating and you're actually building that parasocial relationship with your audience. So that those 6 to 7 hours that you just mentioned, they just rack up quite quickly. And so there's another reason why being consistent and frequent is so important, is that you only have to be posting for, say, 30 days, and someone feels like they know who you are. So when they pick up that phone and they actually ask you, how do I work with you? They've 99% made up their mind that you're the person. You just have to have the right offer to present and say, here's my credit card. Like, that's where it's at. So I love that podcasts and interviews just capture the real essence of who people are.
They do
So
far much more than text only is excellent. It's quicker. It's not actually quicker to produce, especially if you've got a service doing it for you. Cutting it up is really not quicker to produce. Text only is lovely. And again, it's catering, going back to the LinkedIn side of things, it's about catering for all of your audience. That's why people who only tell stories is great. But if I don't, everyone was receptive to stories, of course, but people become bored of it. And for me, it's always about using a variety of different forms of video. Also, the algorithm, if you mostly watch videos, it feeds you more videos. If you only tend to read carousels, it feeds you more carousels. The same for text only, text for image. The algorithm is quite intelligent. It knows what we like. Therefore, if we're creating content across a wide basis of different forms of types of content, then we're hitting all those bases. We're making sure we're getting that message across. And another reason to be consistent, because those 5 posts might not hit every individual 5 times, but one of them at least will.
Yeah, 100%. I always say that the way we do it with the interviews and podcasts also work, is that if they only see 3 out of your 5 posts, they can still follow the story. They still follow the narrative of what you're saying and who you are and get to know you. Whereas if you only posted once in a while and they missed it, or they got that one out of the blue, it wouldn't necessarily make sense. So I think it's a really great way to attract your people. And some of our clients have had some really good results in terms of the conversations that have been started just by posting their videos and posting who they are as a founder. We've got one guy who is actually in the midst of deep in due diligence conversations to be acquired based purely on some of the brand work that we did back in July. So that's very exciting.
Brilliant. Excellent. Congratulations to both. Very nice.
Oh, thank you very much. So as we come to the end, what are your top 3 tips that you could give our listeners for using LinkedIn content to grow their businesses? What are your favorites?
Number 1, be unique. Have a position, have a standpoint. Don't be vanilla and boring and bland. Be unique. What is it? We're all unique in one way or other. We might not think we are, but we are. We've all got stories to tell. You might think they're boring, but they're not. They're only boring to you because you've heard or experienced it or told it so many times, right? Have unique angles and things. Show the world how you think differently. Show the world why other ideas perhaps aren't as effective. So yeah, number 1 would be unique. It sounds obvious, but it's something that actually happens so rarely on LinkedIn. When I do find somebody who's unique, it's, oh, wow. And that doesn't mean it needs to be an extrovert with big, loud colors and a clown suit. Absolutely not. Be unique in the way that you share. And number 2 ties into be yourself. And again, that's a generic one. You will hear that all over the place. Mm-hmm. I like to think of it much more, though, as the way that you speak. Write in your own voice. Don't try to, I'm clearly, listen to me. I do not work well in the corporate world. Ties done up to 12 and all that. That's not my buzz. It's not who I am. I was reluctant for so long to say the word fuck on a podcast, whereas now it's become a staple part of what I'm known for. It's it's the mask falls, especially if you're in this for the long haul. The mask slips and the mask falls after a while. People, again, might have reservations about perhaps being themselves or whatever look it would be. But again, that's part of attract and repel. As long as you're not an outrageously not even outrageously, as long as you're not a horrible person, being yourself or a troll, being yourself will serve yourself the best. Far better than any templates or growth hacks or 10x this or fill in the blanks on that. No, just be yourself. And I think the third tip I would say, would be to write regularly, write frequently, just write. If you don't like writing, you're going to have to force yourself to write. If you're going to use LinkedIn, you're going to have to force yourself to write. So spend 20 minutes, 30 minutes a day just writing content, just writing potential content. Finish that post, excellent, on to the next. Finish that, excellent, on to the next. Have a little timer. Didn't quite finish that, you can choose whether to stop or to finish it. Just write. What you're going to have after a while is such a wide selection of content, of ideas, that just needs a bit of editing and it's ready to go. But get comfortable writing in your own voice and get comfortable being unique, because everybody blends in on LinkedIn. And don't get caught into the trap of trends. Trends aren't useful. Trends don't serve anybody. Just because everybody's talking about X doesn't mean you have to join in and agree. If everyone's talking about X, I would always say, what about Y? And that would be a bit of a contrarian kind of take on it. Don't be afraid to be contrarian, because again, people want to know why you're unique. You've got to stand out, and having a wide range of different types of content, being comfortable writing copy, having some strategy. If you can afford to hire somebody, a coach, a program, go ahead and do it. You know yourself, but you can reach out, of course, but you need to invest in yourselves. LinkedIn, there's 1 billion users on it, and not many are making 6 figures from LinkedIn alone. I've grown my business organically without a penny on advertising, 6-figure business. I'm helping my clients to do the same. So it's reaching out. Find what expert you vibe with. There's a lot of us on LinkedIn. I am not the only one. Follow their content for a while. Get a feel for them. Have that chat. But yeah, simply posting in the dark and hoping for the best. If you're serious about LinkedIn and using it to make money, as I say, there's a reason there's more broke influencers than rich ones, right? And it comes to a lack of strategy.
Absolutely. So there's 2 things I want to pick up on there just to round off. One is that LinkedIn is not just a passive post and forget process. You have to be proactive. Creating the content is actually only step 1. And it's what you do beyond that content. Engaging with new followers, proactively connecting with people that you want to be in business with. And that's the thing I love about LinkedIn, is that it's one of the only platforms that allows you to be so proactive in reaching out to exactly who you want to be connected with. Whereas Instagram, I feel like you've got to sit back and wait for them to come to you. And you can wait a long time.
Agreed.
So,
and again,
so
it's that posting. And again, I tell you what, one other thing I'd also say, if you've not got a couple of hours a day to spend on LinkedIn, you're not going to see that growth. It's not a post and forget platform, exactly to your point. Right. Once you post, you need to spend an hour engaging on comments, going on to other people's posts, commenting on them, getting to know them, building relationships in the DMs. So you're so true. It's a proactive platform. If you want to post and ghost, you won't get far.
No, not at all. And that's when you're going to go, oh, social media doesn't work for me. The other thing that you were saying, I think it was your point number 3, which was about writing for 20 minutes, half an hour a day. One of our previous guests, Kyle, he had a really great system. He is a stand-up comedian in a past life. And so he said the way they would work with improv was you would say one thing, and then what's the next thing that you say from there? So if you sat down with your journal or notepad, whatever you use, and you start to think, what does a salesperson need to know if you were in sales, which he was? What do they need to know? These are the 3 things that they need to know. if they did that, what would the next thing? So it would be objections. How would you manage that? If they did this, what would be the next thing? Who would they need to be? How would they need to connect? And if you use that kind of process, that half hour that you spent writing can be really productive, because you can end up with, you could sit there for half an hour and you could end up with a couple of pages of ideas and thoughts that then can be crafted into posts. So that's just a nice way to add to what you were saying about what you actually do with that 20 minutes of writing.
Absolutely.
It's just that follow on.
And if you're struggling for a framework, use the most commonly used one, although it's used so badly on LinkedIn. PASS. What's the problem? Now agitate it. Now here's a solution. Just think about that. All your content, I should have actually mentioned that. Almost every bit of content that you create should be looking to solve people's problems. Solve problems. People get, this is another thing I'm sure you'll see as well, Leanne. People get scared about sharing their methodologies or sharing how they solve problems. Jesus. How can I trust you as an expert who knows how to solve problems if you won't bloody well show me on LinkedIn? Solve problems. You're selling the idea that you have the solution. People could literally dissect my LinkedIn profile from the last 3 years and get 90% of my course. But who's got time to do that? They want to work with me because they know that's that shortcut to getting to it. I work with them, their problems, their ideal clients, and how to be forming a compelling marketing message through LinkedIn. That's what people are wanting. So don't be afraid to give so much more than you get on LinkedIn. It's the key to it. Don't be afraid of giving it away. What was Kyle's surname out of interest?
Vimoris. No, Kyle Vimoris. Yeah.
Thought I knew this individual.
If you have a look at my podcast, you can find his interview. He had the most amazing results by changing his strategy to posting. I think he started in June, and he'd got virtually nothing from LinkedIn in the last 3.5 years. And in June, he changed his strategy and started posting twice a day. His numbers are phenomenal. He said literally he went from, off the top of my head, 100,000 impressions to 600,000 in less than 90 days, just by being consistent, being proactive, and then engaging with the people who are engaging with his posts. It is phenomenal. It's well worth a listen, but we're talking about you today.
It's such a strange one, that as well, because the algorithm doesn't like when you post 2 or 3 times a day. It just for a fact doesn't like it. That's what is the research shows. It's what clearly is the fact. You shouldn't post twice a day. I'm similar to Kyle. When I post twice a day, I see impressions double or treble or quadruple. It's not going to be seen by everybody. It will slightly throttle the reach of that original post. But if you've got the strategy behind it, it explodes it. So I'm with Kyle 100%. If you can post twice a day, absolutely post twice a day. And again, it's that also a little nod of just remembering that when it comes to algorithm, we have an idea, but we don't have a definitive answer. And the answer that 99.9% of us follow, it's one person with a small team who's doing this research on a select couple of 10,000, 20,000 posts. So it's very easy to fall into the trap. They say this, so don't do this. I would always say, and I always do, experiment. Play about with it. See what happens if you post 2-3 times a day. Try it for 3 weeks. If it doesn't work, go back to just once a week. But you've got to be pushing and testing those bounds, because at the end of the day, there isn't definitive knowledge about the algorithm itself.
Yeah, and just when you think that you've figured it out, they change it anyway. So
that's it. Good content always holds up. That's my mantra. Good content always holds up. Forget about the algorithm. Forget about what's happening with reach. Forget about A, B, C, X, Y, Z. If you're posting valuable content that your community enjoys, that's all you can do. A crappy algorithm's a crappy algorithm for everybody. So let's stop stressing about it. A little bit like posting times. Oh, yeah, I must post at 5 a.m. Eastern. What? Says who? Why? Alex. Not having that at all. Do what works for you. The key thing to your point, Leanne, is consistency. Post regularly. Engage regularly. Get in the DMs regularly. Give away a hell of a lot more than you take back in return. Show how you solve problems and solve problems. Do that on LinkedIn. coupled with some strategy to get people pushing onto calls, you're absolutely fine. That's what to be doing. I think we
100%.
overstress it a lot. I think we overcomplicate
Yeah.
it a lot, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. And I see clients do that a lot. It doesn't sound like me, or I don't know what time we should post. And I'm like, just post. Just let me push your posts. And so we take that whole bottleneck away, because it's like, it doesn't matter, just post every day. Let me schedule it and let the algorithm pick up that you're being consistent and that they can rely on you to show up every day, and you'll get the reward from it. So
totally. And that first hour, again, being so important. If there is one thing, definitely I can absolutely say that engagement. I said that I've posted and ghosted quite a few times recently, and I've not seen any big impact. So I don't even know myself anymore. If you can engage in that first hour, it just makes sure that people are going to be coming and checking out that post and giving it that like. It definitely, if it does better in that first hour, the amount of engagement it gets in that first hour, it still determines how it goes on. But again, you know, on the ideal world, you're engaging for the first hour. You're going back to your comments 6 to 8 hours later. You're then going back to your comments 20 hours later to engage, re-engage, adding more questions. And then 25 hours later, you're adding a new question within. Who's got time for it? Honestly, we stress too much about things that are out with our control. Good content will always engage.
Exactly. We have businesses to run and build. So
Totally.
focus on that.
Lives to live. Who the hell's going to disrupt their dinner? Because I've got to get back to my LinkedIn post because somebody left a comment. Relax. Deal with it tomorrow. Honestly, deal with it tomorrow. It's all right. Trust me. Is it really worth an extra 3 likes because you engaged on that hour? No, it's probably not. Honestly, don't let it ruin your life. Don't let it take over your life. I don't get it. I know a lot of people, I myself included, used to do 8 hours a day on LinkedIn. It's the quickest, surefire way to a mental breakdown there is. I promise you this. Just, as you say, be consistent, post value, engage in that if you can in that first hour, but have that engagement there. Get to know people, make connections, and then take it from there. If you can have content that's compelling and forces them to reach out to you, that you can then turn into a conversation on a phone call, even better. But just create valuable content that's not like everyone else's, and just trust yourself. Even if you don't feel an expert, if you don't feel you're an expert and the vibes you're pushing out are wishy-washy and non-experty, your audience don't think you're an expert either. So back yourself, because if you can't back yourself, how the hell can you expect others to follow suit?
I love it. All of it. I think today's episode has been an absolute fire hose of information. My cheeks are aching from laughing. I have had the best time ever. Darren,
Likewise.
as a last thing, where can we find you? Obviously on LinkedIn, but you want to give us some details about where people can look you up, find you, and connect?
Of course. So LinkedIn, obviously being the obvious one. I don't technically have a website, but I do have a way that people can sign up to my newsletter. You get 5 different ChatGPT prompts, not just make a blog post about, turning it into a sales bot so you can use ChatGPT to be testing your sales skills against, a storytelling bot, an origin story bot, quite a few different things. So you can find that over on darrengibb.com, DARENGIBB.com. I've never done that before. It sounds ridiculous in this day and age. Honestly, I don't know why I did that. Sorry, everyone. LinkedIn clearly is the best place to get in touch with me, as it's my personal network of choice. I'm going to be doing a bit of TikTok, but I've not got it quite registered or set up yet, so forget about that. So yes, LinkedIn, Darren Gibb, and DarrenGibb.com, 2 best ways to get in touch. I'm going to be launching a boot camp, depending when this goes out. I am going to be launching a boot camp come the end of November 23. So there'll be registration open for that pretty soon as well. So a little bit of a sneak peek. I've not announced it yet anywhere, but you guys have got the scoop. You've got the exclusive, Leanne.
Amazing, amazing. Cool. Darren, amazing to connect with you. Obviously, I would encourage everybody to connect with Darren. He is my favorite person on LinkedIn. Anyone looking for podcast production or to raise your profile with some very easy, simple, and effective content production, we've also got the Chirp package. So give me a shout on that. And you can also connect with me on LinkedIn. So that's it for today. Thank you
And also
so much,
let me
Darren.
know, sorry, Leanne, let me know if you do connect. Let me know you bloody heard us on Chirp. I can't say your company because of my accent. Chirp. I'll do that one, Leanne. Chirp.
Okay.
Let me know, even just writing the word, hey, heard you on Chirp, whatever you want to call it. That really is, I could not work for you. I could work for you, my friend, but I couldn't do the company because I'd be phoning people up going, hiya there, it's Darren here for Chirp. From what, mate? Never heard of you. What? Chirp, you're on the mailing list. Who? Yeah, it could be an hour trying to explain myself. Bloody hell. So yes, let me know in the DMs. That'd be wonderful because I'm very intrigued to know. It's always nice to see, talking about podcasts earlier on, it's always nice to see who's coming from podcasts. So yes, I look forward to having a chat with a few of you in the DMs. And Leanne, thank you so much, my sister. It's been a bloody pleasure having this time. One of my favorite podcasts I've ever done. If not the best, but don't tell anybody who I might have been in a podcast with who's listening, because it's bloody embarrassing apart from anything else. But thank you so much for the invitation. I've thoroughly enjoyed doing this, and we could go another bloody hour, 2 hours quite easily, but I'll have to get you on my LinkedIn Live if you don't mind, my friend. I'll have to get you on that.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, everyone. That's Leanne Scott and Darren Gibb from the Profitable Podcast by Chirp.